to literally change the trajectory of your family name, where the barrier of entry to technology is lower than it's ever been in our history. One of my number one skill sets is learning how to learn, and then curiosity. So I take that into whatever I do and wherever I go. I approach life like with a beginner's mind. I could get into anything. So it's just like, let me try it and see before I tell myself no.
The one thing AI could never change is
good taste.
it's going to erode some people's ability because they're going to just default to the algorithm instead of dancing with the algorithm.
Jeneba Wint was supposed to be a lawyer. She interned in the U.S. Senate, hated it, and during the 2008 recession, Googled, "What can I do with a political science degree?" Technical writing came up. Her first job? Documenting oil rigs she'd never even seen. From there, she worked her way through 5 Fortune 500 companies: ConocoPhillips, Baker Hughes, Wells Fargo, LPL Financial, Charter, rising from technical writer to assistant vice president. No tech degree, no certifications until 2025, just curiosity and what she calls delusional confidence. Now she teaches AI literacy with a message for anyone who thinks they're too late.
Those who get better at integrating and dancing with the algorithm are going to be exponentially ahead of those. Nobody's coming to save us. Superheroes are for the movies. Like Captain America is not coming. The future looks like us empowering each other through community. Welcome, disruptors. Welcome to the Disruption Now podcast. I'm your host, moderator, curator, Rob Richardson, here with you. As always, there's 90% of the people that actually listen aren't actual subscribers on YouTube. So I would ask, if you get one moment, just take a time, sign in, become a subscriber. If you're listening to us online and you're listening to us via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, please subscribe, write a review. That's how we can spread the word about how we are working to make sure technology is more human-centric and accessible to everyone. And we have to fight to make sure that that happens, but that only happens if people subscribe, pass the word on. So I'm asking you today, fellow disruptors, please join us. And so, as always, I am honored to bring a new guest, a new disruptor, a friend of mine who is in the space of disrupting to educate, to empower people, to change mindsets about what's possible when it comes to technology, who can use technology, who's it for, and how to actually design it to better improve your life, your workflow, or just what you're trying to do day to day. And my friend is Jeneba Wint, who is also an educator, entrepreneur, and just fellow disruptor. So it's an honor to have her on. Jeneba, how you doing today?
I am doing amazing. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. Always like to start with understanding the origin of someone's story. So how did you come to do the work that you're doing now around education and empowerment of technology?
So I came into this space because when I originally got into technology about 12 years ago, started my technology career, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me, and there was no one actually who looked like me on the teams that I was working on, in the companies that I was working for. And then there weren't a lot of people. When I would say what I did, nobody would know what I was talking about. Family, friends, even online back in the Twitter days, people were just like, didn't know. So I thought that was alarming to me, that there's nobody in this space, and there's not enough people who know about this opportunity to build wealth within your family, to literally change the trajectory of your family name. Because that's what I believe technology can do for us and has done for me. So that's why I got into this space of education, just observing what was going on around me and the lack thereof of other people who could capitalize on this opportunity.
What do you think holds people back from pursuing a career or a avenue within technology, within our community, and the people that you run across?
The number one thing I believe is exposure. And then after exposure, it's I think the barrier is people just believing that you have to code. And even still now with AI, with vibe coding, where the barrier of entry to technology is lower than it's ever been in our history, right?
Absolutely.
Um, there's still this barrier that you have to be this super technical person
Right.
to get into the space. And prior to 2025, I didn't have any certifications. I'm self-taught. I went to school for political science. I was supposed to be a lawyer, and at that time, I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Trust
And
me, you didn't miss that much. I'm a lawyer, but go ahead.
oh, I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
that's right. You know
Yeah,
me on the technology end, but I've lived a lot of different lives. But go ahead.
that is so funny. So I also have lived a lot of different lives. I think that's probably why we're all connected in this
Yep.
disruptor space.
So
But
what
yeah,
brought you to? So you haven't always been in technology. It sounds like all the
no,
time.
I
What
went to
brought you here to technology? Then I guess you've talked about what inspired you to get involved and teach people technology because you were alarmed that not enough people were in technology. But let's hear your story. How did you build your entry point into technology having no technical background? Because I imagine you had the same perceptions that most people that haven't walked down the path of learning how to learn technology had, that's something that's maybe out of your range, something that you maybe had to be a coder. Walk me through, how did you build confidence to get into this space? So I think that might inspire others to know that they can get into this space.
yeah. So you just kind of gave me a preview and through the alley oop to me, but it's learning how to learn. Like that is at the core. That is one of my number one skill sets is learning how to learn, and then curiosity. So I take that into whatever I do and wherever I go. And so I didn't really have that barrier to thinking that it was too technical or thinking it was out of range, because I just don't approach life like that. Like I approach life like with a beginner's mind. I could get into anything. So it's just like, let me try it and see before I tell myself no or put a barrier on myself. It's more like, let me just try it and see whether I can do it or not. So there was the first recession that we had. That's when I was graduating college, undergrad. I did political science. I did pre-law, thought I was going to law school. Actually interned at then Senator Biden's office. So that's like a wild situation, who then later, of course, as we know, became the president. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I was like, I don't know how these people are coming to work every day, but I will gouge my eyes out if I have to work in this space for the rest of my life. So I did that internship and I was like, never, I can't do this. So I went on Google and I just said, what can I do with a political science background, somebody with these skill sets, being able to research, being able to write? What can I do?
Yes.
We're going into a recession. I don't know. I literally have no plans. So what are we
Yeah.
going to do? And one of the things that was on the list of Google, I might have been on like the 8th page of Google, who knows? But it said technical writing, and it said technical. And the reason why I went with that is because it said that you can work in, it listed like maybe 7 industries that you could work in without having to do anything else. You don't have to get any other degree. You don't have to like take any classes. So I was like, that's for me. So I went into technical writing, and then technical writing launched me into technology. And I think it was such a turning point because
Right.
doing technical writing allows you to learn how things are built and allows
What is technical writing? What is that?
technical writing is pretty much documenting things that are being built in the physical world. So
Got it.
you could be working with the first technical writing job I had wasn't even in technology. It was in oil and gas, but I was documenting.
It's almost like a product requirement documents, writing those type of things.
Exactly, which is why I'm so good at vibe coding, because
You
I've been
could,
doing
you know
it.
how to, that makes sense.
So I was in oil and gas. I was like writing about like oil rigs and all these things that I knew nothing about. I've never even seen an oil rig. I've never even been to one. So that kind of exposed me to, you can do things that you don't really have experience doing. You
If you're
can
comfortable learning, right? And
you can learn things that you have no prior knowledge about, and then gain the knowledge and then become an expert. So that's pretty much the trajectory that I followed. And then technical writing went into UX writing, content design, building digital products,
yeah.
working on a product team, working on a tech team, working with software developers to document requirements, what was being built, what they were coding, how that was going to affect the customer. So that's kind of how I transitioned into technology with that background.
Yeah, I want to get into a little bit about what technical writing is, because a lot of people may not know that that's a career path, what that looks like, what you need to think about, and what that entails. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But before you do that, I want to just go back a little bit to the point you made earlier about learning how to learn and possibly what are the blockers. One of the blockers, I believe, to people not getting involved in understanding technology is that they have identified themselves in a way that limits their beliefs.
Yeah.
You're identifying yourself as, I am not a technical person. You're identifying yourself as, this is something that I don't do, that I haven't done, so I don't need to do. I believe that kind of frame of identity of who we are as people can be a very limiting thing if we're not careful. And too many of us have this label that, we're not technical, we can't do that, that's only for certain folks, and that stays in our brain. And I think the part that we have to challenge is that's not our identity. Our identity is not limited to the things that we've done. Our identity is simply the values that we hold, and that's it. And if we can learn how to get outside of that to say, like, I'm not good at this, you don't even know you're not good at this because you haven't even done it and necessarily tried, or somebody told you that. So I guess my question is, and I want to talk about technical writing, but here's the question I want to get to. How you've met people that I'm sure have had some type of narrative in their head around that, right? That this is not who I am. This is not the way I've done things in the past. How do you help people kind of get out of their own head and move forward when they're holding themselves back in terms of how they're viewing their opportunity?
So I would say the first thing is rewriting your own narrative. That's the first thing that you need to do if you're going to transition and pivot, and see. So I'll stop there. If you're going to transition and pivot, I would say rewriting your own narrative, but then envision yourself as that person. I think visualization is something that I didn't know that it was called visualization years back, but I would always envision myself like inventing things, building things. What does it look like if I learn this thing? Like, if I start vibe coding, what can I do with that? Like, why am I doing that? What can I change? What will change about my life? Or if I learn this thing, and visualize yourself doing that thing. I think visualization is a super important key that I used, like, when I was going through these different transitions in life. And I think disrupting those limiting beliefs, that you're not technical, that you're not you don't have the ability to learn this new thing, or I've never done this, so then never done X, so I can't do Y. I think leaving those belief systems more open to curiosity, to innovation, to reinvention. I think reinvention is something that holds people back as well in this
Of course
space.
it does, because people don't. Reinvention is uncomfortable, right? Learning things outside of the construct and the frame that you have challenges people uh, on concepts of who they are and how they were raised and how they learn. Because some people have an attachment to an identity. Like I see this a lot
A
with
limited
AI.
one too, right?
What's that?
An attachment to a limited identity. So
Correct. That's
that's
usually the
where
problem.
that's the problem, where you are attached to this. I've always worked this kind of job, so I can't do
Exactly.
something else. And something you said earlier when you were talking about like titles and exposure to different things, I think I don't really like identify with any titles, like any job titles. It's more like I'm just a person who innovates. I'm just a technologist. I'm just a person who disrupts.
Absolutely.
I lead with the values, as you were mentioning earlier. I lead with the values and knowing the values and the beliefs that I have about myself, and then I apply that to the things that I'm doing. I don't say,
Yes.
I study political science, therefore I'm only a political scientist.
Right.
Like I left that identity a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was forced to. There were no jobs in that when
I
I
mean,
was.
and you didn't leave what you learned, right? There are things you
Yeah.
learned, I think, probably politically and political science that help you connect patterns, but you don't. But you're not tied to a specific function of that job or I should say of that craft or profession. You didn't allow yourself to be limited by that and just say that's all you're going to do, right? So I think that's extremely important. I want to hear a little bit about you though. So here's what I say. Everybody has a story. What is yours? What's the story of Jeneba? I'll tell you my story very simply. My story is I am still that same kid that my teachers told me that I would never go to college and achieve, and I didn't prove them wrong. I've been proving myself right my entire life. That's the story of Rob Richardson. What's the story of Jeneba?
The story of Geneva is I'm still the same person, the same child, the same explorer who just follows their curiosity and who allows that to then shape their life. I'm a delusionally confident person, and
Who shaped your values the most to create that delusion?
my dad. So as I was preparing to come and talk to you, I was just thinking of this story. And my dad is not a technologist. I won't even say he's technologically savvy. He's just somebody who's curious and somebody who likes tinkering. I've always been around technology because he brought it into the home, but he didn't show me how to use it. He just brought it into the home. Like we had a computer. I was before age 3. We had a computer in the home, and no one was teaching me how to use it or showing me how to do these things. I don't even think he had the capacity or capability to show me how to do these things. But in his mind, his job was just to introduce me to it, and then I took it from there. And so that's kind of how I live my life. Like, if I'm shown something or I'm introduced to something, there's no limits on where I can take that thing, because that's just the practice of how I've been living my life. He ingrained the delusional confidence just because he always just believed that I can do things, and
Right.
there was nothing that was impossible. There was just like, you want to try X? Okay, we can try X. You want to go and you want to play a sport that you've never done? Let's enroll you. Let's play. So that's kind of his approach. And I think that's what shaped me. And as far as delusional confidence is just like, try it, see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, the worst thing you can do is it doesn't work out as you thought, and then you learn something new. It's not a waste,
Yeah.
right? That's
And I also think what's important that I learned in that is not to get attached to much, not to get attached to failure, or not to get attached to success either.
Mhm.
I think it's just I'm attached to the effort. Yeah, I think that's what has also helped me in my technology journey is to try to do. It's like do or do not. Like that's
Right.
it.
And it's just the iteration. Just because it doesn't go right the first time, we're all a work in iteration. We're all a work in progress, and
Yep.
there's no such thing as perfection. It's just constant progression, and this is what it's about. You have to put yourself in the field. So let's talk a little bit about the field that is ever changing right now with AI. Particularly, AI is not new, as I say all the time, but generative AI and the level of accessibility is very new.
Yeah.
And it's making a lot of people excited, making people concerned, everything in between. I'm curious, when you are talking to leaders and individuals that are trying to figure out how to get started, what do you advise them? What's the 2 or 3 most critical things on your AI learning journey that you should do in order to set yourself on the right path?
Stay curious, stay dangerous. The stay dangerous part is that self-belief to try, to fail, and get up and do it again the next day, and not to put limits on your learning, your cognitive abilities. So stay curious, stay dangerous. And I think I'm seeing 2 things: the lack of curiosity, um, and how do you get people excited about that, which then leads to adoption,
Right.
and engagement. And so I was just telling a leader last week, AI has to be real for your real life, for your use case, for your solving your like problems in your head. And that's the only way your team, your department will care about it. So I think as people leading in AI, as people teaching literacy, all those things, you have to bring it down to what that team, that person, those students, whoever, what they care about.
Yeah.
What are their problems? How can AI solve like their real life problems and challenges?
Yeah, so it's really getting to their problems, understanding it, and making it real and applying, right? What has been blockers that you've seen get in the way of that when you deal with organizations, when you deal with individuals? What do you see as the biggest kind of blockers and limitations to getting real AI transformation? Let's assume you get a leader that's bought in. Where do you see the barriers come up? And so we can kind of have a learning lesson from that.
2 things: tool first, thinking, which I think has always, it still is and always has been an issue in technology.
Tool first thinking, that's a limitation.
Tool first thinking is a
Tell me
limitation.
why.
And that comes from, in my opinion, that comes from just heavy dev, heavy software engineer led cultures where we think we can throw code or a tool at a problem without root cause solutioning, without figuring out like what is the why, what is the real problem, what are our
Absolutely.
outcomes, working backwards from there, which has always been a part of technology, right?
It has been, but I think it's always been a part of technology where people have tried to implement a technology and assume it was going to solve your problem when you
Exactly.
didn't understand your problem clearly first.
Didn't
you,
understand
you
the
didn't
problem.
map your problem out clearly, right? And so you're correct on that. I would add one point on this, right? When people talk about AI, here's the difference. I think generative AI specifically, it is a enhancer and it's a scale of whatever you do. So
Yeah.
if your process is broken,
Clear.
if your strategy is not clear, it's gonna enhance and scale your chaos instead
Yes.
of actually giving you the clarity. So it is not. You're right. In a tool specific, and like you said, a tool specific thinking, and I'll take that further. In the age of AI, is a problem. A big problem is a model specific thinking too, right? When
Yeah.
people think like Chat GPT is the end all be all for everything. And there are different ways. I think there are principles across the board of how you interact with these systems, but then there are some nuances that where some systems are better at other things. Like I tell people, anybody that's seen Gemini 3, Gemini 3 is phenomenally better at visual reasoning than anything out there right now. The ability to take graphs and information and tell it into a story, UI, UX. There is no better AI tool right now, right? ChatGPT does other things better, but knowing these things instead of just being married to one tool or model. And I believe, by the way, that there's not going to be any model or any agent or anything that's going to do everything universally better than any other one. I think that's the future.
No. I think that's the future also. I do think Google we'll see a Google domination.
I agree. And not financial advice, but I went to go invest more in Google.
Me and my husband just talked about that last night.
I was like, we made a family decision, go put more money into Google.
Yes, absolutely. And that's for many reasons, but you can open up your browser and see why what we're talking about is.
Well, we can give a few reasons, and I don't want to go down the Google route.
Yeah.
But I just at least want to
let's not go down the route.
There's a couple of routes. Just go look for yourself.
Yeah.
But use Notebook LM too. That's a hell of a tool. Go ahead.
Oh gosh, Notebook LM, hell of a tool. Research.
Okay. So this actually forms into a question. What are the top 3 tools that for people starting off, that you would say you should start off and use, that you can't live without, that you think are very important? Top 2 or 3.
I'm going with Perplexity, and I'm going with Notebook LM. And the reason why, let me just explain my thinking and my decision making. At the end of the day, I'm a strategist. I come from that side of the house of technology. So I like to have my things in order before. Oh, Claude Code too. I'll get to the Claude Code.
Yeah, I agree.
But I like to have things strategized in order before I start to do anything, before hands on the keyboard. And that's why I led with the whole tool first thing is not going to work. But Perplexity, Notebook LM, Claude Console, and Claude Code allows you to get so far ahead for when you do get ready to build, or you do get ready to create a website, create an app, create your landing page, create your email templates, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You will be so happy with your first result because you did the work up front. And I love those tools because it allows you to create your requirements up front. Do your research. I just made a video and put it on my YouTube.
Let's go through each one of them. What do you love most high level about Claude? What do you love most quick point about Notebook LM? What do you love most about using Perplexity, and just the one case of how you use each one?
Perplexity, I use it for research. Reason being is because it cites sources, less hallucinations, almost like no hallucinations. I don't really want to go on record saying that, but
we won't hold you to it. High degree of line is
high degree of.
It's also because it doesn't reason too, but there's another thing too. But go ahead.
High degree of credibility. We're in a trust decline economy right now, so that's very important. So when I'm doing research, I'm always in Perplexity. That's like my number. I've said this for like the past 2 years. I rarely ever Google something. If I'm going to look up something or I want to know information, it's Perplexity first.
Absolutely.
That's hands down. Notebook LM. Let's say I'm going to be doing a podcast. I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be writing some thought leadership, some type of paper, some sort of like something that I'm putting out there that I need to do my research on first, but I need to like combine several sources, right? I'm curating, basically. I'm curating information. I want to process information quickly. I go to Notebook LM. I create a new notebook. I'm off to the races. I've even done this in real life in the past week for going on an interview. I need to go on an interview. I need to know as much as I can about this company. Started a notebook. Put my sources from Perplexity in the notebook. Started to ask questions like, based on this information, what kind of interview questions can I ask? What can they ask me? Have all that information in a notebook. Don't even need to leave that interface. I can use that to prepare for an interview, which I have done. So now they have so much more features.
Oh, it's so
Infographics,
good. It's so good. Oh my God.
flashcards. If you're a student, you need to be a notebook LM.
I
Like,
tell everybody, and you need to use this for education. And I'm not saying this because I'm hyping up Google. It is that good and that easy and that intuitive to use. I mean, I've used it for product requirement documents. For you're able to specialize within Notebook LM how you do your decks, because it used to be take so much time to do decks. You can literally just take from a source and take from a call and make a custom deck that would take you all these hours to do before. You can literally do it now in a few minutes, right? You still got to know what you're looking for and do a basic prompt and design. But the point is getting out information and organizing information and learning information. Oh my God. Okay, I want to hear about Claude. What is your application to Claude and why is that so important to you?
okay, Claude at first was my favorite copywriting tool. I'm going to say it still is.
It's still the best for copywriting.
Gemini is coming with the new release. Gemini is coming up as a close second, but I don't think it's better than Claude. Claude is my favorite tool for copywriting, but when it comes to code and code applications, you can look it up if you want to. From software engineers' perspective, Claude is the #1 AI tool for them that they use for development, for writing code, for checking code. And so whenever I'm vibe coding, I'm starting in Claude Console, not regular Claude Console. That's where I do my requirements, both functional and technical requirements and design requirements. So by the time I get to vibe coding, like I'm just putting in the prompt.
Absolutely.
Whether I'm in Lovable, Replit, wherever I'm at, by the time I've already worked everything through Claude Console and then I take it into Claude Code, Claude Code writes everything out, gives me my plans, gives me my specs, like literally writes out my requirements, code and everything. And then I take that into my vibe coding tool, and then like I have my V1. Like I'm there. Like it's already built like first, and all I'm doing is then refining it after that.
All right. So you heard that breakdown. So you really have a lot of nuggets there. And this is how people have to think about how they're redefining how they do work, because not learning this is really, you are putting yourself, you're literally cutting off hands and your hands, legs, and your competition is going to get ahead of you. I tell all founders and individuals I work with, we're in this period of time. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I suspect for how fast things are moving, we have a period of maybe 18 months to 2 years where the potential of this technology, and it's not the potential, the ability of the technology of AI is lagging behind adoption. So for those who are willing to learn, adopt, truly integrate AI into their workflows, into their practices, into how they do business, they are going to leapfrog others where others will not be able to catch up. But you only have this limited time, because eventually everybody's going to integrate it because they're going to have to. And then that will no longer be a differentiator at the level it will be if you did it right now. Like, this is something that there is some level of urgency, especially if you're from communities that look like you and I. Like, we have no other choice but to learn, integrate, and innovate, and do it right now, and don't allow ourselves to be slowed down. And that's what I tell people. So if they're just getting started, Jeneba, right? I'm just getting started in AI. Where do I start?
I'm gonna say I want you to start with Gemini. And the reason why I want you to start with Gemini is not because I'm like obsessed with Google, but it's because Gemini is already so deep into majority of people's life. And Google is already in your life. Gmail, Google Drive, Google Search, right? So I think it's easier to see a connection or start to disrupt your normal working patterns or workflow if you're already like familiar with something. And then for those who are maybe untrusting of technology in a whole as a whole or AI, it's easy you're to relate to something that you kind of already see or already know about, which who doesn't know about Google? So I'm gonna have you start with Gemini, which Google has now put across the Google universe as far as Docs, Gmail. So you can even be in a Google Doc now and you can bring in Gemini for copy editing, for putting an image in, for creating a deck, for helping you with that spreadsheet, with that formula that you were stuck on. Like it's already in there. So I would have them to use something that's already in their work life. And then I would have you do something that is a problem that you're stuck on, right? Or a use case. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. Let's go a problem or a need that you already have. And I think that's where a lot of people missed out on the early wave of AI adoption and literacy, because all we saw was videos and images. And I feel like most people cannot relate to that. Like most people are not content creators. Most people are not interested in, I made this cool image, I made this video, turned into AI slop. Like, I feel like people need to start where they are. What do you need help with, like in your regular life? Think of that, and then use AI to help you with that.
Yeah, I think specifically like how to do that. Like I always tell people some simple things to get started. Like literally, you can ask the AI. You are a expert prompt designer. Like this is the problem I'm looking to solve. It has this use case. Look at if you're looking at let's say at financials. I want to look at the budget forecast. I want to see the analysis for the last 3 years. I want to look up edge cases and anything that can look towards signs of financial trouble, and then see this data and execute against it. It's really that simple, because that's an example of like a more sophisticated prompt where you are actually you are telling it to interpret it in its own language. That's the way I tell people to get started. Like, 'cause people try to, like, it's a way to and then just learn the basics. This is some other place I tell people to start. Literally, this is what I would do. Go to YouTube and look up essentials for prompting from Google standards. Look that up. Look up some YouTube classes that are teaching it. Go into YouTube. Use Notebook LM to have it explained to you, to do flashcards for you to learn it. And that's going to teach you more. And then you apply it. And then if you start down that journey, it'll take you down learning more and more and more.
I think, Rob, that's like even too advanced.
Really? Okay. That was pretty simple.
I really do. You know what I say? Don't even try to come up with these, because contextual prompting and great prompting is built off foundational knowledge.
That's a true statement. Yeah, that's true.
So the more knowledge you have about various things, like Rob said, he's lived many lives, so have I. That means that I have like an encyclopedia of knowledge about random things, about all kind of things. So I don't necessarily want to go there. I actually think open up your phone, go in the app, turn on the voice, right? And start talking to AI in explain the problem just how you kind of talk and think. And I think you can get really far with that. And then maybe I would say go to meta prompting first, which is having the AI help you.
Exactly. Meta prompting. Yep.
Yeah, having the AI help you to prompt. So then you could say, come up with 5 more prompts that I could tell you to solve this problem.
Yeah, that is easier. You're right, because I took it to the deep principles, but yes.
Yeah, I think you got to snowball from kind of where you are.
Yeah.
And that's where people can improve their AI fluency, is just start where you are and then let the tool kind of help you learn. Then you can go into, learning on YouTube. YouTube University can teach anybody anything.
Absolutely. All right. So, kind of, because you answered some of my questions I was going to ask you. How do you bury how do you lower the barrier of fear? And you just start simply by what you know, right? And then go into meta prompting. But so I want to ask you some questions with you. If the last 2 years of your life was a chapter in the story, what would be the title of that and why?
I would say nothing is impossible would be the title of the last 2 years, just because everything that I thought of that I wanted to do, or anytime I just said, I wonder if that's a good idea, or I wonder if I could do blah, blah, blah. It literally has already happened. So I just think that that's what would be the title. Just nothing's impossible, because I'm possible.
There we go. Okay. Another rapid fire question. We meet a year from now. What are we going to be celebrating?
We're going to be celebrating me teaching AI literacy and helping countries around the world get to AI fluency.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's see. I have another question. I want you to finish this statement. The future of learning in AI will finish.
Disrupt what's possible. Once the more people that know AI, I think they're going to scale innovation and disruption. The more people that have access and know how to use it. Yeah.
Finish this sentence. The one thing AI could never change is.
Good taste. I believe there's a few things that AI can't do. Taste is one of them.
How do you define taste? Define what taste means to you.
Taste is a combination of experience, desirability, creativity, and what people are like naturally drawn to. And I think when you combine all of that, you get like what people say is good taste. And I don't think that AI can create that. I think that that's it's like a base level human thing. There are humans that don't know how to curate taste. So it's like, how can an AI do it?
I actually have a prediction that taste, judgment, whatever you want to call it, contextual learning, I like to call it artistic intelligence, no matter what it is, right? That's going to be more the commodity, because what I believe AI will do is, unfortunately, I think it's going to create more. It's going to create even more inequality in some ways, because people aren't going to learn how to embrace it. There's just going to be some people that aren't doing that. And then if you don't, you're going to lag so far behind that you don't know how to integrate it. You don't understand agents. You and your organization haven't done this compound learning, and you get further and further behind. So, you have to. So I believe at the same time, it's going to erode some people's ability, because they're going to just default to the algorithm instead of dancing with the algorithm. And what I mean by that is they just look for the answer to what taste is by whatever you get from the chatbot, which that is guaranteed to get you not the right answer. And I think more people, and the people that develop that skill set, that begin to develop that muscle of knowing how to work within the AI but still keep their taste, know when the data may look right, but you need to go a different direction. These are things that are inherently, you're going to need a human to make those decisions. And those who get better at integrating and dancing with the algorithm are going to be exponentially ahead of those. I'm not saying that's a world that I want. This is not a political statement I'm making. This is a statement I'm making that I just feel like that's where we're heading.
I 1000% agree. And in that way, it's going to create a large gap between haves and have-nots.
Correct.
As at the end of the day, it comes down to articulating vision. Articulating that taste is what we do when we're engaging with AI, generative AI. And so, yeah, if you're not doing that, if you have no interest in doing that, or if you can't create that capability or competency, it's not looking good. Unfortunately, it's not. I don't want it either, but I believe that's the way we're headed.
I believe it is too. So, two final questions we wrap up, and we kind of got to this. With the future of AI, integration, and technology, what is the best case scenario, and how do we make it happen? And what is the worst case scenario?
The worst case scenario, we started to talk about it just now, which is people not adapting, being flexible, and these gaps begin to further and further widen, and then the barrier to entry into these kind of economic opportunities will get further and further away from people, and then people will be in very tough financial, psychological, economical situations, right?
Right.
So that's as a society, we don't want that. We already have large gaps in various areas. So as a people that look like you and I don't want to see that gap widen any further. And that's why I do the work that I do, because I don't want to see that happen.
What's the best case scenario? How do we make it happen?
Best case scenario is widespread adoption, especially from in capability and competency, especially for people that look like you and I, marginalized communities, communities that have already missed certain waves of history, such as tech boom, .com, or those sorts of things. And then how do we make that happen? I honestly believe I don't think it's in teaching AI, because that's the end result. I believe it's in teaching things that we kind of touched on throughout this conversation: judgment, meaning, reasoning, critical thinking, analytical thinking, creativity, which a lot of us already have, and then increasing self-belief in those things and confidence in those abilities. I think that's what we need to do right now, so that when you get to hands on the keyboard, you can just thrive, and you can just literally build what you have in your head and create that and put it into the world at a speed and at a scale that's never been possible.
I love it. It's a great way to end, and that's the message for all of us. Like, we have the ability to be architects of our own future. No one gets to define us, and we've in the past had a history where we haven't had the access and opportunity, but we can change that, and we can change it together. But we have to decide that that's the future that we want. No one's going to do it for us. Nobody's coming to save us. Superheroes are for the movies. Like, Captain America is not coming. Superman's not coming. None of those people are coming to save you, right? None of them are coming to save us. The future looks like us empowering each other through community, working together, and we have to be willing to learn and innovate quickly and remove ourselves from staying stuck in a limited identity, as Jeneba, you said earlier. And I appreciate you for being a part of the disruption community. And as always, to everybody else, keep disrupting.